The rebels, known as the Front for Change and Concord in Chad, FACT, came over the northern border from Libya on April 11th, calling for an end to Deby's 30-year rule. They came as close as 200 to 300 kilometers from the capital N'Djamena before being pushed back by the army. Deby was killed on Monday while visiting troops at the front, just after he won an election. His death shocked the Central African country. The military and rebels said the Air Force has since bombarded rebel positions. The military said on Saturday it had annihilated the rebels. After Deby's death, a military council headed by his son, Mohammed Idriss Deby, seized power and said it would oversee an 18-month transition to elections. Opposition politicians called this a coup, and the rebels said they would not accept a monarchy. FACT spokesman Kengabe Oguzemi Detapol said the FACT is ready to observe a ceasefire for a political settlement that respects the independence and sovereignty of Chad and does not endorse a coup d'etat. The military council is under pressure to hand over power to a civilian transitional government as soon as possible. The African Union has expressed grave concern about the military takeover, while France and regional powers are pushing for a civilian-military solution. A move towards temporary civilian-military rule could offer Chad a way out of the crisis. Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum and Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani are acting as mediators on behalf of the African Union. United Nations representatives are also holding talks with both sides. A consensus is emerging among opposition politicians and civil society to support a transitional civilian president with a military vice president or prime minister. Any agreement will require cooperation from the military council.
All right, to discuss this issue further, we are now joined by the chairperson of the Africa Diaspora Forum, Dr. Abdul Karim Elgoni from Zoom. A very good evening to you, Dr. Elgoni. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Globe.
Thank you very much.
Well, what could have possibly necessitated the move? Could it have been in response by the Transitional Military Council for dialogue?
The issue is France. France has been the ruler in Chad for a long time, and whenever it is unhappy with one president, she creates a situation where the president is deposed. In this time, it is unfortunate that he has to die. And I think she finds herself in a dilemma because the Italians are saying most of the dictators in Africa are the reason that is pushing migrants to Europe. And they wanted this to end. And I think this is an opportunity for Chad to come really to a civilian rule that will make things easier for Chad and for the region itself.
What do you think France's interest in Chad is, though?
You see, France is the historical ruler in Chad since colonial times, and there is a lot of resources in Chad that are untapped. And it is scared now because the US, China, and even Russia are pushing very hard in the area. Russia is now very strong in Central African Republic, and the Americans are pushing with their military and their aid, and the Chinese have long been dear friends to the Idriss Deby. So Chad France is scared of that and is trying to do whatever it can do to reduce the international impact that will reduce its influence in that area.
I mean, remember that France about 2 years ago had repeatedly promised to reduce its interference in internal African politics. But then in February and around, 2019, well, the French Air Force jets attacked a convoy of trucks carrying rebels in northeast Chad. So France perhaps is disingenuous by wanting to stay away from Chadian politics, isn't it?
No, I think you will find the finger of France wherever you find any major event in Chad. I remember in 2008 when the Sudanese have supported some rebels and they even surrounded the palace, and Deby was there. It was France that protected Deby failed that coup. And as you mentioned rightfully, that in 2019 it is France that supported Deby. But yes, that last week, where they allowed the rebels to go up to 200 kilometers from N'Djamena and pushed the president out of his peaceful palace to an area where he was killed. So France has all the fingers in this. This is a military coup. It didn't happen by chance. Just look at how quickly they created this military transitional council and how they brought his son so that they keep the loyalty of Deby's tribe that is ruling the country for all the last few years. So all this is, France's fingers are in it, actually 100%.
Now, back to the call for a ceasefire by the rebels. I mean, given the history of antagonism between the rebels and the government, you get a sense that it is a bona fide move, or is it a genuine move by the rebels to want to engage in a dialogue with the government?
You see, those rebels came from Libya, and in Libya they were supporting General Haftar, and they have received excellent training from the Russians in Libya, and they are very well equipped from Libya. And when the war in Libya is coming to an end, they are pushing now to get something in Chad. But to be frank with you, no one is happy about another war in Chad or in the region. Not the AU, not the ECOWAS, because Chad is main supporter against the Al-Qaeda and its affiliate in West Africa. Not France, not Sudan, which has its western border already bad with tribal fight. So there is no one who have an appetite for a rebel movement to come and disturb the peace. This is why last week when the French ambassador to Sudan, I think, met with the deputy of president of Sudan, Mohamed Hamdan Daglo, and they both, in their discussion, they felt that a Sudanese scenario will be very good for Chad, where there is a sort of coalition between the military and the civilians to take Chad out of this dilemma. And this is, I hope, what everyone will be pushing for. But the rebels will find no one to support them. Even Russia, that given them the training, will not be happy to support them to disturb the peace that is happening in Chad. As you know, Deby has kept peace in Chad for a long time, except for a few events.
So what's likely to be discussed between the rebels and the military council? What are some of the grievances that the rebels have put forth, which necessitated the insurgency in the first place?
You see, the rebels, maybe we will deny it, but the fact is that a tribe is ruling Chad. And the rebels are from a different tribe from the north. And they wanted a share of the rule of the country. They want a share of the cake. The tribe that is ruling in Chad, headed by Deby, is not ruling in an inclusive way, and everyone is complaining about it. Other different tribes, African tribes, Arab tribes, and other tribes are complaining about this. So the move of the tribe, the fact rebel movement is supported actually by many civilians who have not been included in ruling the country, and it will be supported by a number of new and old rebel movement to try and reduce the size of the cake that is taken by one tribe in Chad. And this is what they are going for. And I think there will be pressure from France for stability reasons, from the AU refusing a military coup, from Sudan refusing instability in its western border, from ECOWAS. They don't want the Chadian army to be involved in an internal fight. They wanted them to be participating in the war against the Islamic Al-Qaeda in West Africa. So there is pressure from everyone, including United Nations and US, for people to come to a compromise. So I see whatever the rebels would say, it will be reduced to a sort of a national reconciliation conference. And the other good thing is that Faki, who is the chairman, who is at the head of the AU, may have his eye on the presidency in 18 months, and he will be very eager to create a peaceful transition so that he can come after 18 months. So all the scenario for me is that people will come to a sort of national reconciliation conference very soon.
Now, this ceasefire and ultimately the dialogue between rebels and the Transitional Military Council, is it likely to entice other armed groups to lay down the arms and engage in a dialogue with the military council?
Definitely. You see, I want you to remember that those rebel groups are not independent. They are all linked by one way or the other to one regional power. And all those regional power are not interested in chaos in Chad because it will impact Egypt, it will impact Sudan, it will impact Libya, and it will impact all West Africa because Chad is a very important partner in the fight there. So the people who are supporting those rebels, the regional countries that are supporting those rebels will ask them to please pull your horses, let us see how things move, but we don't want chaos now. You remember last week the rebels said we are not going to stop except in N'Djamena, but now they are saying no, we need to negotiate and discuss on this. So the atmosphere is changing slowly day by day.
I think I lost you there for a second when you say that the rebels are supported by some of the regional powers and they are linked to regional powers. And so I'm not sure whether in the sense that they are sponsoring the insurgency in Chad. And you say that they don't have any interest in Chad. So how can they possibly support the rebels when they've got no interest at all?
I told you, those rebels, all the military training they got from Russia on a Libyan soil. All the military equipment and resources they have. Remember last week they downed 3 military planes in Chad. So they are very strong. They don't have money to buy all those equipment. It was given to them by someone. I don't want to name a country. But they have been given it to them by someone, and there is no free lunch in those things. So everyone is weighing what they want. And the rebels cannot go for war without the support of the Russians and the Libyans.
So do you think they can be incorporated into a civilian government should the talks go well?
Definitely. What I expect is that there will be a sort of reconciliation conference in Chad very soon, pushed for by the AU and supported by the European Union, by Sudan, by Niger, by ECOWAS, by the Americans, and it will bring people together. The Transitional Council, as you mentioned earlier, people don't want this. Chad is not a kingdom. They don't want Deby's son to be the president. So most probably they will look for some sort of civilian military rule for a transitional period, after which there will be elections where things can smoothly move because this is the only better way for Chad in the near future, because no one wants war in Chad.
And speaking of a monarchy, because the opposition and as well as the rebels say they don't want a monarchy, they don't want some sort of a coup d'etat, because I mean they need to advance, because I'm sure that Mohammed Kaka will definitely let go of power because he would want to continue with the family dynasty.
You see, yes, you are right. They don't want a monarchy, but what has happened is a military coup. It is a military coup in the way it has happened, in the way the military council was created, in the way that France wanted the same tribe to continue ruling the country because it has agreements with them. It's a military coup, and AU will not accept a military coup. So what happens is they will keep Mohammed Kaka in power one way or the other. They will give him a very powerful post as the head of the army and as the ruling monarch in a way. But at the same time, they will put a very strong civilian government, and they will bring those rebel heads like Mohammed Isa, who is now Mohammed Musa, who is the head of FAC. they will bring him and bring others who are in Sudan, there are others who are in France. They will bring them in as soon as possible to give them all part of this cake. This is how things were happening in Sudan, and for the bullets to stop. I think this is what will happen. They will give him a post, a very good one. They will give some of his other coalition rebel movement an opportunity to govern in Chad, and I think that is what they are looking for.
So with the incoming government, the incoming civilian government after the elections, how likely will they change Chad's policy or rather, position in the Sahel? And if they do eventually change it or tweak it in a way, would that be in the best interest of Chad?
You see, we have no government now in Chad because the military coup have deposed the government, have annulled the constitution and have sent the parliament into a long leave. So there is nothing now ruling in Chad other than the military that has the 18 who have been formed after Deby's death. They are the ones they are ruling now. There is no government. People are expecting a government to be formed. I am very happy about the fact that the rebels have said today they wanted to negotiate, because on Friday they said they are not going to negotiate, they are going for war. So there are indications that a new government, a sort of civilian, military, rebel government will be formed. Kaka will be a chairperson of it, but the others will equally get some sort of position in it that will keep peace in Chad.
All right, Dr. Elgoni, we appreciate your analysis and your insights on this matter. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Dr. Abdul Karim Elgoni. He is the chairperson of the Africa Diaspora Forum, just sharing his thoughts and insights about the developments coming out of Chad. On to other news now.